Middle Tennessee's only primetime news. This is Fox 17 News at 9, your Code Red station.
Fox 17 News bringing you live team coverage of the 2024 election.
We've got results from the presidential race, the Tennessee congressional races, as well as the transit referendum here in Nashville.
Good evening. I'm Megan O'Halloran.
And I'm Scott Couch. We begin with the top of the ticket, the presidential race, which is still unfolding. Here, look at the numbers we have so far in terms of the Electoral College vote. At the moment, with 18% of the states reporting, Mr. Trump has 178 of the 270 electoral votes he needs to become president. At the moment, Kamala Harris has 99.
And here's a look at the popular vote as of right now. Donald Trump has 30,022,256 votes to Kamala Harris's 26,990,522 votes. 18% of America reporting tonight.
Shifting gears now in the 7th District congressional race. Former Nashville Mayor Megan Barry trying to unseat Dr. Mark Green, the incumbent. Barry conceded a short time ago, and well, you see the numbers.
And here are the results. Mark Green has 60% of the vote to Megan Barry's 38%.
Fox 17 News' Caitlin Miller live now at Megan Barry's watch party in Nashville. And again, the incumbent Barry just conceded a short time ago.
Yes, that's right, Scott and Megan. We're at Megan Barry's watch party here in Hillsboro, and she did succeed. And she also, the AP did call the race, saying that Megan Barry did lose. But she said that this election campaign has been very successful and meaning to her. They raised so much money. They knocked on more than 20,000 doors, had over 300 volunteers, and she says she got to interact with elected officials and several residents and had really meaningful conversations. So she says the last 6 weeks have been great and successful despite the loss.
This is not the outcome that we had hoped for. I want to congratulate him and his team for running a race that was really good. Obviously, they won. We wish him well, and we wish him all the things about going to Washington and representing us. We want him to do well.
And again, the AP did call the race, saying that Megan Barry did lose, but she is surrounded by her family, friends, and supporters. So despite this loss, she is still in good spirits. Reporting live from Hillsboro, I'm Caitlin Miller, Fox 17 News, your Code Red station.
Caitlin, thank you. Another hot race, the U.S. Senate race here in Tennessee. We've been watching that one.
Well, the Associated Press already called the race for incumbent Marsha Blackburn over Gloria Johnson. The numbers there on your screen. Marsha Blackburn getting 67% of the vote tonight. Gloria Johnson got 31%.
Fox 17 News' Dennis Ferrier at the Blackburn watch party right now with more.
Yeah, it may have been a hot race, Scott, but the stove is cool to the touch. I mean, this has been over for a while. It is not an exaggeration to call Marsha Blackburn a political juggernaut in Tennessee. She has won every election she's been in this century. And as we saw her today walk up to make her victory speech, we kind of got what we expected. Whether you like her or not, whether you agree with her or not, she has the same message every time.
Here's your to-do list that we've heard from you. Bring back a strong economy and get rid of this inflation. And make the Trump tax cuts permanent. And get my bill passed that would remove tax on Social Security. Secure that southern border and absolutely build the wall. Restore our place in the world and break a little more China.
Well, for 4 more years, you're going to hear that China hitting the ground. That's a big issue with her. I know everyone's seen that commercial and got a kick out of it. Whatever you believe, it's pretty memorable. So just all smiles here, and the people who remain here are here to watch the presidential race, which remains exciting. I'm Dennis Ferry reporting live in Franklin, Fox 17 News, your Code Red station.
Negative.
All right, Mark Green hanging on to his seat. Let's listen in.
Take those for granted, and I'm never going to take a race for granted. But you know, we felt like we needed to work a little harder this time around.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
All right, thank you.
All right, thanks, guys.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Yep.
Mark Green hanging on to his seat for U.S. House District 7 after initially saying that he would not be running for another term. About 2 weeks later, he threw his hat back in the ring and easily won his race tonight. Democrat Gloria Johnson challenged incumbent stronghold Marsha Blackburn for her Senate seat. Johnson was hoping voters would make a change for Tennessee representation in Washington. Johnson was nearly expelled from her House role last year after fighting for gun control legislation in the volunteer state during a protest on the House floor. Johnson calling Blackburn to concede the Senate race earlier tonight.
Well, the numbers coming fast and furious. We continue our election team coverage now with a look at some of the battleground states out there nationwide in the race for president. Fox 17 News' Amanda Chen is in our election race center. And Amanda, those numbers in the states are not changing colors as fast as some would like, but it is taking shape.
Yeah, that's right. We have some races that have already been called for Donald Trump, including here, of course, in Tennessee, as we mentioned, Kentucky, Florida, Texas, and Ohio, among other states. And Kamala Harris taking Massachusetts, New York, New Jersey, and Illinois. Now let's get to some key swing states. Particularly, we're paying attention to Georgia and North Carolina. Now, Georgia has more than 80% of the votes in right now, leaning red. Again, only 80% of the votes in right now. In 2020, President Joe Biden was the first Democrat to actually carry Georgia since Bill Clinton in 1992. Now, right now, North Carolina has more than 60% of the vote in, leaning red. Trump won North Carolina by about 1 percentage point in 2020, his smallest winning margin in any state. Now, the candidates would get 16 electoral votes from each of the 2 states if they win these battleground states. Now, we will also be keeping an eye on Nevada, Arizona, Wisconsin, Michigan, and of course, Pennsylvania, the state with the most electoral votes than any of the battlegrounds. But for now, reporting live in the studio, I'm Amanda Chen, Fox 17 News, your Code Red station.
Well, a massive public transit overhaul plan that Nashville Mayor Freddie O'Connell has been pushing since he took office. It was on the ballot, and here is a look at the results so far. 66% of voters saying yes to the transit improvement plan. This is a referendum vote, 34% saying no. Fox 17 News' Kelly Avellino is at the mayor's transit plan watch party at the historic Voorhees building, where the mayor is declaring victory tonight. Kelly?
That's right, Megan. It's been an energized room for the past hour when the mayor took the podium to a roaring crowd declaring that early victory. 131,000 Nashvillians so far voting yes on that yes or no ballot referendum question, whether or not to fund this $3.1 billion transit overhaul plan, which would fund things like 24/7 legal bus service, 600 synchronized traffic lights around the city to stop that congestion, better roads, and improved sidewalks and bike lanes. The mayor saying that he is proud that Nashvillians did this together. Take a listen.
We have never had more people stand up at one time and say, we are standing here in the heart of the city, but across this city now, for the next generation, we will all enjoy the things we deserve: sidewalks, signals, service, and safety.
This will all be paid for by a half-cent sales tax increase across the city. Critics not liking that sales tax hike. They also say, some of them, that they just don't believe that Nashville has the bus ridership to really warrant this kind of spending, which they say is much closer to $7 billion when you factor in the interest on this whole deal. That said, we spoke to the mayor earlier today as well as just now, and he says the procurement process starts tomorrow, as well as more detailed plans on the first projects to really get underway. I'm Kelly Avellino for Fox 17 News, your Code Red station.
Kelly, thank you. A lot of information coming in, a lot of information to digest tonight. So we are going to bring in some expert analysts.
And we'll find out what the results tell us about the state of America and what we may expect for the rest of the night.
You're watching Election Night News here on Fox 17. Here's a recap of the Electoral College votes with 18% of the states reporting. And we have been hanging out on that number for a while. At some point, some of these states are going to break and they'll change. But at the moment, Donald Trump is in the driver's seat with 178 electoral votes.
Well, we may see those numbers pick up here soon. The West Coast states, their polls have just closed. Now let's take a look at the popular vote. As you can see, Donald Trump ahead, 30,022,256 votes to Kamala Harris's 26,990,522 votes, 18% of America reporting tonight.
As our election coverage continues now, we got a couple of local political experts with us. Democratic strategist Jasper Hendricks, chair of the Metro Fair Board, former Nashville Deputy Mayor Bill Phillips, a longtime Republican strategist who worked in both the Reagan White House and the George H.W. Bush administrations in Washington, just to give you the credibility of our two guests here.
Well, Bill, we'll start with you tonight. It looks like Tennessee was more solidly behind Trump this year than in 2020. Do you attribute that to a higher voter turnout or something else?
Well, I think that if they didn't have a whole lot of choices in their minds outside of Shelby and Davidson County, and so not much has changed. Maybe the voter turnout was a little heavier.
Yeah, it looked like the Republicans were jumping on it, certainly in the early voting. Jasper, the Democrats were hoping to make some inroads, and we've talked about it on this set many times. You know, you got to win at some point. Didn't win the U.S. Senate seat, and the Democrats didn't really think they would, but, you know, Gloria Johnson raised some money. There's a couple of state house races. You got to take care of business and hang on to what you got. What did you see here in Davidson County and beyond on the state house level?
So I think that what we saw here in Davidson County, what we're seeing here in Davidson County, is that we're going to keep the seats that we've been defending here because, you know, of course, the Republicans were trying to take every seat. It's not good enough just for them to have the supermajority, but they want all 99 seats, and so we were able to defend, you know, our seats here in the 60th district. Also, it looks like we're going to defend the seat to keep the seat of Ronnie Glenn in Clarksville. You know, but there are a couple of close races out in Shelby County, you know, as well, that we're keeping an eye on as results are coming in.
You think the Dems might actually pick up a state house seat?
Possibly. You know, there's still a possibility. We're keeping our eyes on the Gillespie seat out in Shelby County. That was been pretty close right now with the early vote turnout, and that's one that the Democrat has been working very hard in hopes to flip.
All right, time will tell for sure. Bill, back to you. John Rose, he won the re-election easily in the 6th congressional district. He's expected to run for governor, but that would hinge on who wins the presidential race and how that could potentially maybe take some Tennessee players off the board to serve in the administration. How do you think those dynamics play out moving forward?
If the vice president does pull it off tonight, as you say, that changes the picture, and so you've got two Republican senators that at least one of them might consider running for governor. I'd be surprised if Marsha Blackburn ran for governor, but who knows?
Do you think they might get pulled into, let's say Donald Trump wins? Could he tap a number of Tennesseans, like maybe we're saying, maybe to work in the administration? And then you've got players all over the board that could be shifting
Well, I think
positions.
the odds of Senator Hagerty being tapped on the shoulder if Mr. Trump goes back into the White House are quite high. And I think he'd be very receptive.
Secretary of State?
Secretary of State would probably be his number one choice. I've also heard Secretary of Treasury.
Okay.
No, he's sharp on all fronts for sure. Yeah. Well, guys, thank you for taking the time. I know it's been a long night, and unfortunately, we're not going to know who's going to win the White House probably for days.
It seems to be that way. Are the numbers holding the way you expected them to so far tonight?
Yeah, I spent the weekend over in Philadelphia, a day over the weekend in Philadelphia, campaigning there, along, with the former First Lady and a couple of the celebrities. The energy is high, but we're going to have to expect higher turnout than average. So the key for Kamala Harris' victory is to overperform in a lot of the urban areas, which is Philadelphia, Detroit, and Milwaukee, which is what we saw Hillary Clinton failed to do in 2020. So if we see those, and then also in North Carolina, pull out of North Carolina. I was in North Carolina weekend before last. The energy there too was
busy.
high, right? We've been busy, so I'm looking forward to some rest, tomorrow as the people continue to count the votes. Because like you said, it will take a couple of days before we actually know who it will be the president. But we'll get in the morning. We will probably have some sort of idea, but it will take a couple of days for it to all shake out.
All right, we will leave it there and toss it over to Katie. And Katie, fortunately, Mother Nature didn't get involved in this race.
Yes, Scott, very good point. And we are expecting rain, but it's in our western counties right now, and we'll continue to filter in as we go into the overnight hours tonight. We'll start off with a live look and a dry view here from Metro Center. And here's where the showers are at the moment. We are looking at most of that rain still in West Tennessee and western Kentucky. A couple showers in Trigg and Christian County. But as we get into the overnight, that's when we're expecting more of those showers here to push in. So intense rain possible in our western counties. I would say overall the severe weather threat is pretty low as we head through the evening hours. If we were to see anything, it would be an isolated wind gust. So what we can expect tonight, rain for some. There's going to be a wide range of rain totals. Most of the rain will be west of I-65. But if you don't end up with rain over the next 24 to 36 hours, have no fear. There are more chances. But this really is a sharp cutoff from where we're having most of that rain compared to little rain. Possibly picking up maybe 1/4 of an inch here in Nashville, more like 1 to 2 inches with locally higher amounts possible for places like Clarksville to Paris and up towards Hopkinsville. Tomorrow, temperatures top off in those mid to upper 70s. If we hit 79, that would tie the record high. For perspective, our average high this time of year is around 66. So pockets of rain will be around. The axis of heavy rain looks to stay west to 65. Here's midnight, and it's raining pretty good in Hopkinsville and Clarksville. A few pockets by tomorrow morning near the I-65 corridor, Metro Center. But notice that we're staying fairly dry out in Cookeville, Crossville, McMinnville. Other than a few pockets of rain as we head into the afternoon, that's probably going to be about all we see toward the plateau. Here's 1 p.m. and showers become pretty scattered across the area here through 8 o'clock in the evening hours. And that'll continue as we head through the overnight and into Thursday. Our chances for rain stay alive, not only for Thursday, but it's looking like yet another chance for showers will begin to move in on Friday. Friday morning, at the moment, looking dry, but as we head deeper into the evening hours on Friday and into the weekend, the potential for a soggy pattern moving in for us here, and that may have something to do with now Hurricane Raphael. We'll talk more about where the hurricane is now and how it could impact us here in the mid-state. That coming up a little later in your Fox 17 Code Red forecast.
Taking a deeper dive into the election results, we will hear from another veteran political expert on what we can tell so far about the lay of the land in terms of the race for the White House.
Continuing our in-depth coverage of election night in America now as the numbers continue to pour in, and there's a good chance that we'll go to bed tonight not knowing who our next president will be.
Now, that said, the numbers we have gives us plenty to talk about. And toward that end, joining us is veteran political analyst Linda Shadd, who worked in the Carter White House, served as Jimmy Carter's press secretary when he was running for re-election. Linda, what surprises you about the numbers that we've seen so far, really on both sides?
Well, on the Trump side, what surprises me is the monster numbers that he's racking up in rural counties across the country. We have seen it in Georgia already that he is overperforming in those counties what he did in the last election. What surprises me in terms of the Harris numbers is that she is not only holding on to the white non-college voters that Joe Biden held on to, but she is improving and overperforming with white college-educated voters.
Well, Linda, of course, all eyes on Pennsylvania, and I'm just watching the numbers come in and just flip-flopping who is ahead. In these critical hours of uncertainty, there's a lot of speculation, a lot of people trying to fill in the gaps with maybe exit polls. But historically, how reliable is that data day of?
Well, exit polls only give us an idea, a snapshot of what is happening at that particular time. I don't really think, and in fact, AP doesn't use exit polls anymore because so many people vote before election day.
That's right.
But I will say that the trends that we've seen in terms of the issues show that the economy is still number one in people's minds. And if this is 1980 or 1992, when it was the economy stupid, then we can expect Donald Trump to win. Kamala Harris's democracy message was hard for people to get their arms around, but in some of the survey data, it's showing that democracy was the number one issue for about 50% of the voters in that survey.
Linda, you spent some time in Georgia, and that was a state that was in play, really fighting over it. It looks like Donald Trump is going to do well there. Are you surprised by that? Because he's facing charges down there.
Well, I'm not surprised that it's going to be close. And I tell everyone that you don't really know where Georgia's going until those three important counties around Atlanta come in. And of course, they will be the last ones to complete their voting, as we saw in 2020. So I'm not surprised that he is running as well as he is because of those rural counties that I mentioned earlier.
Well, Linda, do you think the blue wall will hold tonight?
Oh, that's the big question. You know, one of Harris's problems in Michigan are the Arab American voters who really wanted her to separate herself from Joe Biden on his position on Israel and Gaza. And I, at least in talking to my friends there, believe that those voters either stayed home or voted third party. And so I'll be watching Michigan to see how much of an impact that has.
Veteran political analyst Linda Schatt, thanks so much for being with us. I really appreciate what you offer.
Thank you.
Re-elected, what Republican Senator Marsha Blackburn is already focusing on after Tennessee voters sent her back to Washington.
And the battle for Congress, the latest from Republican Representative Mark Green as he wins re-election tonight. The race for Tennessee's 7th congressional district seat goes the way of the top of the ticket. The incumbent Mark Green, the Republican, defeats former Nashville Mayor Megan Barry.
And here are the results on your screen. Mark Green taking 60% of the vote tonight. Megan Barry got 38%. Sean Green got 2%. We'll go live to Fox 17 News' Karen Aguilar at Mark Green's celebration up in Clarksville. Karen.
Yeah, well, the watch party is still going on, and everyone here is on fire. They're very excited that the candidate that they thought was going to win actually did win against his Democratic opponent, Megan Barry. And, of course, he won by a landslide. So I'm here with Representative Mark Green. Tell me how you feel about this victory.
Well, we feel really good anytime you get a win, right? But, you just think about the people who vote for you and the confidence that they put in you, and it's honestly, it's very humbling to get another opportunity to serve Tennessee's best district, the best district in the country.
Got it. And for the next 4 years, what are some of the things or the main thing you really want to achieve?
Yeah, this next term, obviously, we got to secure our southern border. It is our number one national security threat. The fentanyl, the terrorists. We just caught another 8 ISIS terrorists in New York City. They just walked across the southern border. I mean, we have to shut our border. And then our cyber border is also very porous. We got China in some infrastructure that we caught this summer, other hacks that they've done, other nations. So, we've got a lot of work to do.
Got it. And then you also had a conversation with Megan Barry. What was that like? Was she very receptive?
Yeah, Megan's very cordial. She's been very cordial throughout the process. We'd bump into each other at polling stations and things like that. She's been very very nice. And of course, I knew her when I was a state senator and she was a mayor, so we had a good relationship then.
Got it. Well, thank you so much. That's Representative Mark Green, and we'll have all the updates, including monitoring what goes on with this when he's in Congress, and we will keep you updated. Reporting live in Clarksville, Karen Aguilar, Fox 17 News, your Code Red station.
Karen, thank you. Well, former Nashville Mayor Megan Barry, they talked about, raised a lot of money, took it to Mark Green on the airwaves during the campaign. Not enough, though. Our Caitlin Miller live in the 12th South neighborhood where Barry conceded roughly an hour ago.
Yes, that's right, Scott. Well, Megan Barry did lose the race for Congress, but she's still in good spirits despite the loss. She says that they had a very successful campaign over the last 6 weeks, raising more than $1.3 million. She says that's more than any other Democratic campaign here in Tennessee. She says that they put 3 ads on TV. Over the last 6 weeks, they had 300 volunteers knocking on more than 20,000 doors across several counties. She says that they've had several meaningful conversations with both elected officials and volunteers, as well as residents in several different counties. And she says it's a campaign that she'll never forget. Megan says another special part of her campaign is bringing awareness after her son Max died due to a drug overdose. She said fighting against the opioid crisis is a huge part of her campaign. She doesn't know exactly what her political future will hold, but she says that she will continue to raise awareness about drug overdoses and that problem here in Tennessee and beyond. Reporting live from Hillsboro, I'm Caitlin Miller, Fox 17 News, your Code Red station.
Caitlin, thank you. As our election night coverage continues, we look at the U.S. Senate race and incumbent Republican Senator Marsha Blackburn taking care of business like at the top of the ticket, winning 67% of the vote over Gloria Johnson, the state representative, with 31% of the vote. She does, however, still have that state rep job as she had the opportunity to run for re-election in that while running for Congress. Our Dennis Ferrier's live in Cool Springs at Marsha Blackburn's celebration. It looks like it's pretty well cleared out. Dennis, I know earlier you said folks were watching the presidential race, but looks like it's pretty well over.
Yeah, well, you know, people, there are not a lot of people in their 20s here. You know, people want to go home at a decent hour and get some sleep. And I count myself among them. But, you know, you got to go back to 98, Marsha Blackburn's fight against that state income tax, and it really propelled her into what has been, you know, this century, success after success. Jack Johnson, state senator, prominent member of our legislature here in Tennessee. What do you, I mean, you know, we like to reduce things to one or two things. Why is it consistency? Why is Marsha Blackburn so popular with Tennessee voters?
Well, I think it's a record. I mean, going back to 1998, my wife and I knocked doors for Marsha Blackburn running for the state Senate in Williamson County. She served one term, and then she ran for Congress and got elected, and then, of course, she had an incredible, impeccable record in the United States Congress. Of course, 6 years ago, she moved on to the state Senate. But for those who know Marsha and have followed her career, consistency is the word. She's just unwavering in terms of her conservative principles. And that dates back to, 1999, 2000, when she stood up to a Republican governor and said, no, we will not have a state income tax, when a Republican governor was proposing one. And so she's a great friend. She's done such an incredible job. And what an exciting night for her tonight. An overwhelming victory.
And what do you hold closest to your heart? You know, when she said, here are my 5 issues, you know, she said her to-do list, and we've heard, the border, inflation. If we fast forward 4 years, of all those issues, what do you think is most important to you and Tennesseans in resolving that?
Well, they're all very important. It's hard to pick one or two, but I would say certainly the border. A nation without secure borders is doomed to fail. And then she mentioned the debt. And that's something that gets less conversation that's out there, but I know Marsha is very, very passionate about that, the runaway deficit and the increasing amount of debt we're incurring as a nation. So those are two very, very important issues. But I'll say this, if we had 100 senators that were like Marsha Blackburn, this country would be in a whole lot better shape than it is right now.
State Senator Jack Johnson from the Marsha Blackburn Victory Party. I'm Dennis Ferry reporting live, Fox 17 News, your Code Red station.
Dennis, thank you. The race for the White House still up for grabs right now.
We'll take a look at where things stand in that race, including the battleground states.
Another look now at the presidential electoral college results. 178 for Mr. Trump at the moment, with still 18% reporting to Kamala Harris's 99 votes.
And here's a look at the popular vote results for president on your screen. Donald Trump with 30,022,256 votes. Kamala Harris has 26,990,522 votes.
As we continue our team election coverage, right now we'll look at the battleground states for president.
Fox 17 News' Amanda Chin in our election race center with that.
Yeah, well, we are keeping a close eye on several swing states in particular right now. That includes Georgia, North Carolina, and Pennsylvania. Now, Georgia has nearly 90% of the votes in leaning red. Of course, there's still time. Now, in 2020, President Joe Biden was the first Democrat to carry Georgia since Bill Clinton. Right now, North Carolina has more than 80% of the vote in, also leaning red. Trump won North Carolina by about 1 percentage point in 2020. Now, in Pennsylvania, also an extremely tight race right now with more than 50% of the votes also leaning red, but this could change at any time. Now, remember, in 2020, President Biden won Pennsylvania by a small margin. Now, whoever wins Pennsylvania will get 19 electoral votes, the most of any battleground state. We are also keeping an eye on Wisconsin, looking like an extremely close race right now with almost half of the votes counted, leaning slightly red. But for now, reporting live in the studio, I'm Amanda Chin, Fox 17 News, your Code Red station.
Coming up, we are watching the tropics, believe it or not. Hurricane season not done yet. We have Hurricane Raphael that could impact part of the U.S. and possibly the mid-state.
And election integrity, it is an issue voters have voiced concern about all year. What Tennessee election leaders did to protect your vote.
A massive public transit overhaul plan that Nashville Mayor Freddie O'Connell has been pushing since he took office was on the ballot, and here's a look at the results so far. 66% of voters saying yes, 34% voting no on that referendum. Fox 17 News' Kelly Avellino is at the mayor's transit plan watch party at the historic Voorhees building, where Nashville voters have given the mayor's plan the green light. Kelly.
That's right, Megan. A whole lot of happy and excited people here right now. The crowd has thinned out a little bit, but there was huge applause, a roaring cheer for the mayor when he took the podium about an hour and a half ago, declaring an early victory. As the votes come in, they become stronger to greenlight this $3.1 billion transit plan. It was a yes or no ballot question, and we have nearly 200,000 people at this point, or on track to 200,000 people voting yes for that plan. I can tell you the WeGo bus service would be extended to 24/7. We'd have upgraded sidewalks and roadways, as well as 600 traffic lights that would be synchronized, and bike lanes as well. The mayor saying that this will make Nashville safer amid problems downtown that we've been reporting now for several weeks. Several pedestrians hit by cars in very serious crashes.
And underlying it all, we will be safer together, safer on our streets, safer at our new community transit centers that we will now build at more than a rate of one a decade. It's extraordinary. There is so much good that we will be able to do for each other over the next 15 years.
This will be funded in part by a half-cent sales tax increase. Critics not happy about that. They also say this whole thing is going to cost closer to $7 billion, and they say the ridership just isn't there for WeGo buses. They say about 6% of Nashvillians take the bus to work. So some questions still, but this plan looks like, again, it is going to get the go-ahead. We spoke to the mayor earlier, and he said the procurement process and more detailed planning and scheduling on the first projects for the Choose How You Move plan will start tomorrow. I'm Kelly Avellino for Fox 17 News, your Code Red station.
You have trust in the election process.
Team coverage of the election continues tonight with what state and local election leaders have done to ensure election security and integrity. Fox 17 News' Kylie Walker shows us how two new state laws implemented this year are helping to make sure every vote counts.
People came in and out of these doors all day. We visited several different polling locations across town to talk to voters, and overall, people were very excited to get their voices heard.
I just had to come out because I was like, I'm ready, I'm focused. I did my research.
From longtime voters to first-time voters.
I felt like I had a voice, and it's nice to feel like you being noticed and being included a part of something that's so prolific in the United States.
We asked them about voter integrity and if they trust the process.
I'm not too sure. I don't know, everyone's skeptical of everything, but I just interested to see the results.
Do you have trust in the election process?
Yes.
Where
I
we're
hope
going to is going to be all right.
Tennessee Secretary of State Trey Hargett says we are a leader in election integrity.
People can trust in the integrity of this election. In Tennessee, we've been ranked #1 election integrity for the last 3 years.
Earlier this year, a state law took effect requiring election commissions statewide to produce voter verifiable paper audit trails.
It gives the voter an opportunity to review their choices on their ballot on a piece of paper before it's tabulated.
Jeff Roberts, administrator of elections for Davidson County, says there are many checks and balances to combat voter fraud in Tennessee.
Our commissioners will choose scanners that we will audit per the state law. And what we do, we will take those ballots, these that have been scanned, and we will run them through a different scanner just to make sure we get the same total.
Now, I'm going to read you a number here in just a second, but keep in mind if you see anything suspicious, the TBI in Tennessee encourages voters to report allegations of election fraud or any other threats to the number on your screen. I'll also read it here at 615-232-7500. Again, 615-232-7500. For now, reporting in downtown Nashville, Kylie Walker, Fox 17 News, your Code Red station.
All right, Katie, and weather kind of taking the back seat tonight,
but all right,
but it's still
a big night. Yeah, it is. Weather's always important in my world.
It didn't impact people's ability to get out and vote today.
And that was good.
Yeah, it really was. And we are looking at rain moving in overnight tonight. We're dry still at the moment. Most of the rain is still in West Tennessee, but we are going to be looking at some showers moving in. We'll quickly take a look at the radar, in fact, and you can see that it's filling in nicely. So that line will be marching in the next hour or two. And again, the severe weather threat very low. If anything, maybe an isolated wind gust possible. But boy, we really could use the rain. This is a look at our average rainfall compared to what we have seen over the past 30 days. And basically, of course, the more orange and yellow it looks, the drier we are. We've only had 18% of our normal rainfall over the past 30 days here in Nashville. A more stormy pattern is coming, and part of that is going to be due to Hurricane Raphael, now churning in the Caribbean. Max wind speeds at 80 miles per hour. It did become a hurricane this afternoon and continues to swirl here, headed towards Cuba. We'll put this in motion, and you can see we're expecting it to strengthen potentially into a Category 2 hurricane as it emerges into the Gulf of Mexico. This should be by Thursday evening into early Friday morning. Now, what it does from there is still fairly low confidence as far as intensity and as far as location. We're expecting it to encounter a lot of wind shear that will help steer it, but it will also help to pull it apart a little bit and weaken it. So as it inches closer to the U.S. coastline, possible that we could see it weaken to a tropical storm. Not to say that we won't see impact out of it. It does look like it may connect with another system out in the Central Plains, and that will just basically sweep up all this moisture. And guess where it's going? Maybe here into Tennessee. Still a lot of questions as far as exactly what kind of impacts we could have if we see impacts, but it is something that is on the table. We need to keep an eye on it. So what to look for right now, we're tracking the storm into the weekend. So this wouldn't be for us until late weekend into early next week. Could bring us some rain, perhaps some storms, strong thunderstorms. I can't rule that out, but I'm not very confident on that right now. And then again, low confidence overall as far as the storm goes and what kind of impact we may have here in Tennessee. So that is something that we're going to be watching closely over the next several days. So the weekend right now does appear to be pretty stormy for us. Pockets of rain here, won't be an all-day type of rain, but scattered showers and thunderstorms. Temperatures holding in those low 70s. We take a look here at your 7-day forecast, and temperatures will be in those 70s as we head into the weekend. That is still above average for us, and we look to stay above average all the way through the beginning of next week.
Well, plenty of Tennesseans taking to the polls today, whether you were in line today or you participated in early voting. We'll hear from you on just how long it took to cast that ballot.
Hi there, I'm Fox 17 News This Morning anchor Erica Glover. Millions of Americans casting their votes, and now we're waiting to find out the results. We are busy tracking all of the biggest national and local races on Fox 17 News This Morning. We'll see you starting at 4 a.m.
In tonight's Fox 17 News viewer poll, we want to know, how long did you wait in line to vote?
Poll's live right now. Let me show you what folks have done thus far. So far, 750 votes, and the majority of folks say we got through there in 76% say we got it done in 30 minutes or less. 15% say between 30 minutes and an hour, and only 8.7% say more than an hour. I would have been among the latter category. Took me 90 minutes today.
Wow.
If you'd like to weigh in, just scan the QR code there on the right-hand side of the page. It'll take you to our X page, which is at Fox Nashville, and we will update these numbers for you tonight on Fox 17 News at 10.
Well, politicians trying to keep or win a job was not the only thing on the ballot tonight.
We're going to take a look at some of the mid-state referendums involving taxes and alcohol. Stay tuned. Residents in Gallatin voted on a half-cent sales tax increase tonight. If they vote no, city leaders say they'd have to raise property taxes. Here are the numbers. Close, though, relatively so. 53%, 7,500 folks say yes, we'd like to do that because we don't want to raise property taxes. 47% say no. A sales tax increase in Gallatin would essentially make it equal to its closest neighbor, Hendersonville.
Well, here are the results on your screen. 89% voting yes, 11% voting no. Residents in Nolensville voted on wine sales and retail food stores.